Welcome to Living Room Montessori. I am an AMI primary trained guide with a master's in Montessori education and a first-time mom. This video will show you my son's kitchen transformation from the time he was 10 months old to 2.5 years. My son's child-sized kitchen is both a functional and play kitchen. I want to show you how they can work seamlessly together and still follow the Montessori method. Around the time that my son was 10 months old, I found a second-hand child-size hutch. I was so excited since it took me a while to find something that could fit in our space. I spent some time to update it with some paint, new knobs, and peel and stick contact paper as a backsplash. My son's kitchen started with the hutch and child-sized chairs and a table. I put his plates, cups, and cutlery into the hutch. We have a small kitchen with limited space, and this was an easy way to add extra storage. But I also wanted my son to see where I was getting his items from, so that he knew where to get them when he wanted them. I created a child-sized kitchen area this early to lay the groundwork to a future time when he would be setting the table and preparing his food. You're going to see how it starts small and simple and expands to be so much more. Creating a child-sized play kitchen in your home is really adorable, and children have so much fun in these spaces. I wanted my son to have a place in our home where he could engage in dramatic play. I also know how much children appreciate doing things by themselves, and there is a lot of developmental benefits in creating functional spaces for your child. Having child-sized furniture with accessible supplies is a cornerstone in Montessori philosophy. Child-sized furniture and real kitchen supplies communicates to the child that they belong. It also communicates that the adult thinks that they're capable, and this builds confidence in the child. It also provides opportunities for the child to practice independence and develops real skills so they can participate in home activities. And it also supports your child's fine and gross motor development as well as other developmental milestones. I wanted to find a way to support my son's independence in the kitchen and allow him space to play and imagine as well. I started off with more practical options for play and added in pretend food later on when I could see him engaging with more imaginative play. We'll get to that part later. First, I realized that I needed more space to be able to offer both functionality and play. When my son was a little over a year, I added a pantry. Again, I looked for a second-hand option. I wanted to find a piece that was the same depth as the hutch so it fit together well. It took me a long time to find an option that could work. I eventually came across a cabinet that someone was getting rid of when they were redoing their kitchen. It was the right depth for what I was imagining, but a bit short. My father-in-law was able to add a piece to the bottom to create some height. I painted this to match and added a handle to make it easier to open. By the time that I added the pantry to the kitchen, my son was already walking and showed an interest in carrying heavy things. I filled jugs with water and placed other items from our pantry like cans into his pantry so he could carry them around to build his strength. This not only helped his gross motor skills and developing more coordination, but it also was a way that my son could imitate how the adults in our home were using these items in the kitchen. The hutch still housed the dinnerware my son would use for meals and snacks. At this time, he was practicing using utensils and open cups during meals. Since these dishes were available to my son outside of meals, he could use them when he wanted to practice setting the table and act out what he saw the adults doing. It was also around this time that I was adding cleaning supplies to his kitchen area. My son would see me sweep, mop, and dust, so I provided him with real cleaning supplies that were his size so that he could participate in cleaning up after meals. I selected a mop that had a removable cloth pad so that I could wash it frequently. The final piece that I added was the well-known IKEA kitchen. I chose this kitchen because I wanted to eventually create a functional sink, and I found that having a plastic sink basin would be the easiest way to do it. I was able to find it used and just remove the top piece. I updated it with some paint and new knobs. My son was around 20 months old when I included this piece. It took me a while to find an arrangement that would work. My son started to use the table to climb into the kitchen furniture, so I wanted to find an arrangement that would naturally deter some of these unwanted behaviors that I was observing. Modifying your home to encourage certain behaviors or eliminate others is a tool that Montessorians often use in a Montessori classroom. The question that I often asked myself when arranging my classroom or home was, what does the environment invite? For example, this could mean that if a piece of furniture is easy to climb, your child will probably try to climb it. If you observe this and remove or relocate the furniture, then your child can't climb it. This kind of response to your child's behavior removes the obstacle from the child to create a more appropriate space. It also means that the adult doesn't have to keep reinforcing a boundary, and this dissipates a lot of frustration that can occur from continuous redirection. Observing how my son interacted with the space helped me decide to keep the sink as a play sink for now. I have plans to incorporate running water in the future, but I'm in no rush. I saw that my son was not ready to include water in the space, so I'm waiting for his readiness. I bought a learning tower so that my son could reach the kitchen sink sink when he needed to fill his pitcher or rinse his dishes. This is how I balanced encouraging his independence and being realistic with my bandwidth. I added more pieces to my son's functional kitchen, and I was glad to have the extra storage. Between the time that he was 18 months and 2.5 years, I slowly began adding in more items for him to use. I included small pitchers so that my son could practice pouring. Later, I added a cutting board with a child-friendly knife. My son enjoyed learning how to cut his fruit and other foods. I also offered whisking opportunities and chances to use our salad spinner. I had visions of cooking and baking daily with my son, but this really didn't happen as often as I envisioned. As time goes on, I hope to find ways to build more of these opportunities into our weekly routine. When I observed that my son was able to use his spoon consistently and easily pour with a pitcher, I introduced a cereal dispenser. My son participated in gathering all the items that he would need for having cereal and set his table. Then he would dispense the cereal and pour his milk into the bowl. Most days, he would do his dishes and help me clean up afterwards as well. Sometime later, I included spreaders so that my son could smear cream cheese, jams, and nut butters on breads. When introducing these new items, I would show my son how to use them and then let him practice several times before introducing new kitchen tools. I also made additional storage in one of our cabinets for extra items like the cereal dispenser and salad spinner, which could be quite bulky to store in my son's kitchen area. The cabinet in our kitchen also gave me some space to rotate out kitchen tools to keep my son's kitchen space interesting. I also like that I can limit the availability of the kitchen tools to only when we're using them, because it allows me to limit any misuse. My son is still able to practice preparing his meals, but in a more controlled setting. As a parent, I can still support his independence, but also manage some of the chaos that occurs with toddlers and food prep. During the time that he was between 2 and 2.5 years old, I expanded my son's cleaning supplies as well. I included high chair washing and window washing because food gets flung places. My son also used his floor crumber more often after meals to help me clean up piles. I also expanded his mopping opportunities to not just cleaning up spills, but actually using a spray bottle and the mop to clean the floor. As my son has gained the basic use of some of these cleaning tools, I'm starting to show him more activities that he can do with the same cleaning instruments. As the months went on, I replaced the jugs of water and cans in the pantry with pretend food. I kept the pretend food mostly in the pantry and his dishware and food prep supplies mostly in the hutch and IKEA kitchen. As my son got closer to 2 years old, I saw him using pretend appliances and pretend food with his real dishes. Because my son's child-sized kitchen is both a functional and a play kitchen, I selected dishware so that it would not break as easily. His dishes represent a variety of materials like plastic, silicone, bamboo, and metal, so that he can have a variety of sensorial experiences. I have not included glass and ceramic in his kitchen just yet, but I will be adding in pieces made of these materials later on. As I've been watching my son play, I can see that the skills he's been learning when setting the table, preparing his food, eating independently, and cleaning up afterwards only seems to fuel his creativity and imagination when playing with his pretend food. The experiences that he is having surrounding mealtimes has actually helped him develop his imagination. Real-world experiences are the building blocks of imagination. Eventually, I want to create a video discussing Montessori method, pretend play, and imagination, but for now, those are my quick thoughts. So this is what my son's functional and play kitchen looks like at 2.5 years old. I really love the gray and white version, but I found that I also love creating new looks. I painted our shoe cabinet a deep plum and was inspired to bring that color to his kitchen. I have some more ideas already for my next look, so you have to check out my next video to see what I come up with. As time goes on, I'm excited to show you more food prep ideas and how we put running water in his kitchen. I hope you have enjoyed our child-sized kitchen journey so far, and that you are coming away with ideas for your little one's kitchen area as well. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. See you next time. Bye.